Tuesday, November 6th. I'm Rim. Scott walked away before we did the opener, and this is Geeknights. Tonight, what we would do if we had a dev kit for anything Nintendo.
Let's do this.
Man, so, still haven't played any more BioShock. The new
What's taking you so long?
The new Zelda game is still sitting on the compressor where I set it after Scott handed it to me.
Why don't you play it on the train or something?
Because I do other things on the train and play other games.
What are you doing on the train?
Reading Temeraire, Book 4, Empire of Ivory.
That shouldn't take you more than a couple days.
Actually, I just finished it.
Oh, okay,
It took me 2 days of reading.
So you can play Link
No, because now I have to read The Terror, which is also nautical fiction that involves some element of fantasy and or the supernatural, possibly
But wait a
Cthulhu.
minute, that Zelda game is nautical fiction that involves some element of the supernatural, so you should play that.
All right, if Link will hem and haw internally to himself while ordering men to their deaths in a valiant fight for British safety and security, yeah.
Something similar happens with Gorons, maybe.
Does Link cheat on ever-increasingly beautiful and distant women until eventually he cheats on the woman he loves the most with the woman he loves even more, but she dies, so he ends up with the first woman, and all the other women die?
He cheats at money-making game.
Yeah. Though, I have been playing a lot of Guitar Hero 3, and now that I've played a little more, and I think Scott can agree, I have a few things to say about it.
Well, we got the Wii version, and I think the first thing that's obvious is the Wii guitar is the best guitar ever.
Well, the best guitar so far.
The best plastic guitar.
Even though, remember we talked about, oh man, you should play Mario with the guitar. When they, I don't know how they did it, but when they made the Wii guitar, they didn't make it right. You know that there's a little nipple, right? The little analog stick that goes right by your breast, and you can move around and bring it to Guitar Hero, so you don't have to have an extra controller out to play Guitar Hero. You cannot use the guitar in any other capacity because you have a 90% chance of crashing the Wii every time you do.
Yeah, you know how when you turn on a Wii game that needs the nunchuck, and if you don't have the nunchuck plugged in, it says, hey, put in the nunchuck. You know, you play another game where you don't need the nunchuck, it'll say, hey, take out the nunchuck. What is wrong with you, right?
And even then, it still works.
So, yeah, but I would assume that, you know, if you started up a game, some games they say, you know, I will not let you play unless you plug in the classic controller. You need it, you know, stuff like that. If you have the guitar plugged in or not, the Wii doesn't recognize the guitar at all. It has no clue. And it's like you could just start up games that don't need the guitar, and then you can crash the system. Or
not even that. The Wii menu stuff. If you can click on green with that little nipple to start Guitar Hero, but do not, under any circumstances, use that green button to open any other menu on the Wii.
Yeah, I mean, if you try to go into like the Weather Channel with the guitar, it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, there's issues with that. Also, tried out the WFC, you know, playing on the Wii Wi-Fi. And once again, Nintendo has shown me that their wireless offerings are laughable and worthless.
Pretty much, yeah.
It was...
The only thing it does that has any value is show everyone's scores online, which doesn't have much value, because I really couldn't care what that's... You know, I know someone else out there can beat the whole game on Expert with 5 stars in every song. I don't need you to show me.
The versus playing is just, even in person, is just so uninspired.
Yep. We have yet to play the co-op career mode, though, which is where I think the action is.
If only someone who maybe was throwing a party sometime in the near future would buy another Guitar Hero 3 for the Wii.
Yes.
Then perhaps we could bring
because
a guitar.
As yet, they do not sell these spare guitars. Which I guess we'll buy one.
But yeah, and there's a bunch of issues with menus, and the menus just aren't as good, and every now and then I run into trouble trying to navigate around the game.
Yep. But in general, I think the only thing to say about the game itself is that it's Guitar Hero. It's just as Guitar Hero as the other two. But in most rhythm games, the selection of songs is like varied. You know, you got some super awesome hardcore songs, some long songs, some short songs, some fun, some not so fun, right? This one seems to have all the same kind of song. I mean, sure, the songs are really awesome. It's got like 10 awesome songs. Like, yes, that song it's freaking yeah. But it's not like Guitar Hero 2 where like you had some songs that were like and some that were like just fun in some way. It doesn't have a lot of those. The variety in gameplay style across songs is not as wide.
I think
as it
part of the
needs to
problem
be.
is that classic rock metal tends to be kind of repetitive except for the solos.
Yeah.
Really repetitive.
Yeah.
How many songs are 2 minutes of me going chugga 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 just to finally get to and then fail on the solo?
Yeah, it's like jigga 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 and then fail. It's like, yeah, great. Why did I even bother?
I think the real problem, because actually us and Alex argued long into the night over the weekend about how dissatisfied we are with pretty much all gaming since Portal came out.
Kind of. I'm not too dissatisfied. I'm liking my Phoenix Wright 3 I'm playing.
Oh, of course. I'll play it probably immediately after you finish it.
You didn't beat Phoenix Wright 2.
I kind of stopped caring in the middle of the circus one.
Well, the one after that is I don't know if, that's not the last one. So the one after that, the last one is good.
Yeah, but I got to get through that stupid circus one that I stopped
use a
caring
fact.
about. I guess I could.
They just tell there's facts online that are just like present this on this line of text. Do this, do this, do this. Exactly the shortest way through the game.
I don't know. I'd feel kind of dirty doing that.
Well, if you're being bored, because Phoenix Wright, the way I look at it, is not so much a video game, though. Even though it's technically a video game, it's basically a manga with a little bit of animation and music on it, right? And the only difference is that you sort of have to, you get to solve cute little puzzles to read the next chapter of the manga. And compared to the other Phoenix Wrights, actually, this third one, I guess the translation group, I think, did a much better job in that they threw in a lot of jokes. They did the usual throwing in of jokes, but it's much like the thing that I think is obvious, the right answer, like works. I've only run into like 2 or 3 parts where I was like, what the fuck? Unlike the first and second ones where there were a lot of what the fucks. If you like Phoenix Wright, you still like Phoenix Wright. There's a third one out. You should get it, and then they'll bring out the fourth one. If you don't get the third one, you won't see the fourth one.
Though, speaking of being dissatisfied with gaming, I do have to point out that despite the fact that I'm almost entirely jaded with all this stuff now, something remarkable happened. Something that I've been waiting for a long time. Mario 3, Virtual Console.
Yep, I bought it. I'm playing it. It's Mario
Now,
3.
people have argued whether or not Mario 3 is either the best-selling video game in the history of gaming or the second best. Because it's kind of close,
Well,
even though...
you got close to ones like SimCity or The Sims, stuff like that is hot on the heels there.
But at the same time, it was just released for the Virtual Console, and it sold, from what I can gather, quite well. I'm fairly certain that as of now or next week, there won't be any disputing anymore. It will have been the best-selling game ever.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
the last thing I should say is that is entirely justified. Mario 3 is like one of the best video games ever made.
According to Wikipedia here, which I think is wrong, they're counting Super Mario Bros. 1 as 40.23 million and Super Mario Bros. 3 as 18 million. I don't know if it's fair to count Mario 1 as 40 million.
Mario 1 came with the NES.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the reason Mario 3 is the biggest selling is because when it came out, everyone had an NES, quote everyone, and pretty much for every NES, a Mario 3 was sold. I mean, there wasn't anyone who didn't have Mario 3 who had an NES. Basically nobody. So that's why, I mean, even the Halo, which sells a bajillion, doesn't sell one for 360. It sells like one for every third
remember,
360.
This was when Mario 3 came out, that was an era when Nintendo was facing antitrust suits for being a gigantic evil monopoly, and they funded, not a TV commercial, TV commercial. They made a whole movie in theaters with real actors that was nothing more than a commercial for Super Mario 3.
It worked.
I saw that movie in the theater on opening day.
I saw the movie in the theater with my grandma. It was
and as
so
a result,
bad.
As a result, I knew exactly where that fucking warp whistle was.
I knew one of them. I got the other ones. I remember there were TV shows about how to do secret stuff in Mario 3.
Ah, good times.
Yeah, like on network television, there was a guy showing secrets of Mario 3.
But seriously, if you've never played Mario 3 and you own a Wii, buy it. This is gaming history right here. I'll warn you, game's a little hard.
Best platformer ever, maybe?
Might be.
Man, it would be so cool to play it, though, without knowing all the stuff I know.
there was a time when I was able to do that.
Yeah.
A long time ago, when I also was able to enjoy a movie that was an ad for a video game.
Yeah, well, the only other things I got to say right now are that I have 4 games currently pre-ordered for the Wii alone. And so if anyone says there's still a Wii drought, you're wrong. You ready for the 4 games I got pre-ordered?
You can't pre-order 4 games.
Oh, I did. In fact, I think one of them might already be out. I got, of course, the Smash Brothers, which is coming in February, pre-ordered. Mario Galaxy coming in a couple weeks or a week or two, pre-ordered.
I've seen some buzz. Everyone seems to say good things about it.
Yeah, I got everyone's saying amazing things about it, and I've been avoiding the videos, but I've seen enough to know that I can't go wrong. It might be the second coming of Mario 3. I got the Trauma Center New Blood pre-ordered, and while the other Trauma Centers were only decent, this one has co-op mode. So if Rim actually bothers to build up his skill at playing that game, it would be worth the co-op mode.
I beat Mario 64.
I'm talking about Trauma Center.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to play that.
You suck.
I didn't
co-op.
enjoy the first one at all.
But it's co-op Trauma Center.
I really didn't enjoy Trauma Center. I'm sorry.
You suck.
I played it on the DS a little bit. It wasn't fun. I started to play it on a Wii. I stopped caring and went back to playing Mario 64.
Well, you suck. Anyway.
And Fanatical Devotion to the Pope.
Right, and the last game that I have pre-ordered, actually I think it might have been in order, I'm not sure, it might have been released like tomorrow maybe, is Lego Star Wars Complete Saga for the Wii.
Those games are cute.
Yeah, I got the feeling that this one is going to be worth it.
Oh, yeah, I also got to point out just one more time. All indications are that the new Worms game for the DS is awesome, and you should buy it.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like awesome, but it's worth buying.
It is not up to the potential of what a game like that could be. But compared to the previous Worms game, also for saving...
think about it. Worms on the DS. Solid gold idea, right? Perfect. That could be great, right? But the first time they tried that, it didn't work so well. So now they have Worms DS2, which is better, significantly.
But two... It seems like one of those games like Bomberman where if your friends all play it together, it kind of transcends what it actually is and becomes something wonderful.
Yep. It's not a game you're going to play alone, that's for
sure. Even though I think the merit of practice has been shown, as Scott cannot beat Alex.
Yeah, but you're not going to play it alone for the single player. You're going to play it alone to practice. Then when you play the multiplayer, you'll win.
But I thought modern games showed me that single player only exists to teach me how to play the multiplayer.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
All
right, so what do you got?
My news is the same news that you're going to have every year around this time, and that is go to www.childsplaycharity.org and empty your wallet.
Do I need to say more? Do we need to bring it up? Do we need to even say what that is?
No, I don't know. If you don't know what that is, do what I just said. Did you buy anything yet?
I haven't yet. I'm thinking about buying a DS.
I bought a Pokemon Emerald.
That's probably a good one.
Yeah. I bought it for the closest hospital, which I think is that Montefiore, which you worked at before.
Yeah, I used to.
Yeah.
Well, no, I worked for a company that was a wholly owned subsidiary of that.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's the closest hospital geographically, so that's the one I picked. Pretty interesting. They have a cancer hospital in Egypt now on the list. They have a lot more hospitals than before.
Well, because Child's Play is proving the power of webcomics and Penny Arcade. I mean, they are major players now as far as anyone can. In the video game industry, Penny Arcade is the be-all, end-all.
Something like that. Give up your monies. It's pretty easy. It just takes you to Amazon.
It's very easy to give up money.
You go to Amazon and you buy something. The only difference is nothing ever comes in the mail to your house.
Except the warm smiles of children who have something to do during their horrible recovery from dangerous illness.
Or I actually got a letter from the hospital last year.
No, I didn't get anything.
It's because you picked the wrong hospital. You picked the grumpy hospital.
All I got was a receipt.
I didn't get a receipt. I got the
the Amazon receipt.
Yeah, the Amazon receipt.
The Amazon receipt that I then used for my taxes.
But then the hospital sent me a letter in the mail.
I didn't get a letter.
Pick the same hospital that I picked. You'll get.
I feel kind of gypped now. Some kid should have written me a letter.
I didn't get a letter from the kid. I got a letter
it's
from
good for his convalescence.
I got a letter from the hospital, not from the kid.
Should have been from the kid.
What do you want? The kid probably can't even write. All he can do is play Pokemons.
Things of the day. So this was on Dig, but I can't pass it up. And someone made a little animation, kind of South Parky in style, that is just all of Half-Life, as in Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2.
Not episode 1 or episode 2, though.
In 60 seconds. And you know what? It's exactly that.
It reminds me a lot. Do you remember way back, like on America's Funniest Home Videos, way back in the day, there was some guy who was like, Casablanca in 60 seconds, and that was his video. And he had like this big disc with all the characters' faces on it, and he would spin it around to switch to the different characters.
No, I don't remember that. I remember a guy who set it up so that half of him was a man and half of him was a woman down the top, and he turned sideways back and forth 180 degrees to sing 2 parts of a song.
Ah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just something I remembered. You know, there's a lot of people who act out long things in a very short span of time.
This is one of the best.
Yeah, this is a very good one. It's quite entertaining, especially if you played Half-Life 1 and 2.
Blah, 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 Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman, Gordon Freeman.
Gordon Freeman. Okay.
Here's a crowbar. Yeah, it's not in English except for Gordon Freeman, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. And if you haven't played Half-Life 1 and 2, what are you doing?
Well, if you watch this, it's kind of a substitute.
Not really, no. No, not really. In fact, while this sort of spoils by showing you the entire plot, it doesn't really spoil. Really, I mean, it's so summaried that you could play it and spoiling still wouldn't happen.
If anything, you'll be playing it, and then things will happen in the game, and you'll think back to this video and go, "Oh, those 2 scientists did fall to their deaths in that elevator."
They did.
Right. So what do you got?
Oh. So back in the day, some of the funny, before YouTubes and stuff, it was not so easy, and before Dig, it wasn't the easiest to find the funniest things on the internet consistently and in abundance. So you would go to sites like Something Awful, where people would get together to make funny things, all in the same spot, and thus things like Photoshop Friday or Comedy Goldmine were the hotness.
I really have to avoid suddenly going and looking at probably the best comedy goldmine of all time. Lord of the Rings on the Go.
What about Video Games Gone Bad?
That's number 2.
All right.
But Lord of the Rings on the Go?
Yes, well, it's been a while since there's been a Photoshop Friday that I found humorous, but suddenly one appeared that was the awesome, and it is Thinking with Portals, and it's just Photoshops of, portals, and it's funny. You should look at it. There's not enough of them to suit my tastes, but the ones that are there are quality. But
the only
I
problem,
think they should have let it go on longer to make it better.
I think the real problem is that it kind of starts with the funnier and goes toward the unfunny.
Yeah, and they should have just made the last page, the shame page or whatever, but they didn't.
Yeah, I always like the shame pages more than the actual Photoshops.
I know, right? It's like, yeah, here are the bad ones that don't really cut it, but they didn't do that.
I know, I like the dog a lot and the cat, and yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Right. So this actually came out of the questions show where someone asked us what we would do if we had a Nintendo Wii dev kit.
Well, you see, the thing is in general, even now that the drought of DS has been long over, and the Wii drought, I can say, is over, there is still the problem that Nintendo and many other not just Nintendo, but Apple and a lot of companies that, make things that geeks care about, are not living up to the full potential. The things that they make, say the iPhone or the Wii, are capable of so much. They're capable of just getting 1 million points, but the companies only do 500 points worth of work because they make just as much money. In fact, they make more money that way because their costs are lower.
Well, it's kind of like in Guitar Hero 3. If the lowest I can get is 3 stars, why am I even going to bother?
Yeah. Well, it's like, so people who are geeks like us, we look at these things and we say, we see the full potential of that, and what you get is you get a hacked iPhone that can do all these things to actually unlock the full potential, But the Wii and the DS, the full potential, I guess sort of unlocked on the DS, with those DS flash cards, but not really. And there is, it's much harder for people homebrewing to unlock the full potential of something like a Wii DS combination. So, in this show, we're just going to talk about what we think you could do to actually achieve the full potential of the DS/Wii/DS Wii.
So, correct us if we're wrong, but I'm of the opinion that most of these ideas would make sick amounts of money.
Sick, yes, but they would also cost sick amounts of money to make in most cases, or amounts of time, and the risk would be, the real risk, we know, wouldn't be so great. But the perceived risk by the business would be great. And Nintendo, king of profits, would not go there.
Yeah, Nintendo definitely is risk averse.
Well, any big company is risk averse.
Nintendo especially. Remember when the DS came out and they're like, it's not replacing the Game Boy. Third pillar.
Right, and then it's like, yeah, we're lying.
Yep.
We were just saying that in case the DS flopped, we could keep the GBA up and then come out with like a better GBA in a few weeks.
So let's talk DS first, because I think it's pretty simple.
Right, we'll do DS, then Wii, then DS Wii.
Most importantly is I would make a lot more use of the local Wi-Fi and make a lot of simple, fun, competitive, directly games that you can play with all your friends.
I think there are a lot of these games already, but most of them tend to be puzzle games and stuff like that. Like the Tetris works pretty well, and so does the Puzzle League, and they got the Worms kind of works now and stuff, but definitely a lot more could be done in this area. And plus, a lot of games they have now are controlled with the stylus in some way, which is good, but a lot of those games, the stylus is generally used as a mouse, and it's like that game would work just as well with a mouse. But there's some games, there are only a handful of games that use the stylus in an actual way a mouse could not be used. For example, the Kirby's Canvas Curse. And I know it's kind of hard to think of specific ideas of how to make a game that's really stylus innovative, but maybe someone should try harder, because there hasn't been much success with that.
At the same time, I would not feel any way obligated to use the stylus at all if a game didn't require it.
No, people need to, in general, I think people need to, if you're going to make a game for the DS, don't go trying to use DS features of the DS Extra. If they're not part of your game, they're not part of your game. Just make your game, and if your game happens to be a game that uses those features, do it. And if it's not, don't. Too many games like using that microphone that just it screws you over.
Oh, that microphone has never been used for anything good ever.
Nope. I mean, I guess VoIP is all it should be used for, really. But
how well did that really work?
I don't know. I haven't really tried it so much.
At least on the DS Lite, they moved the microphone to a much better place.
Yep. But, in general, people who are making games can do that. But to achieve the full potential, someone really needs to think up new games that specifically are designed around the features instead of happen to use them.
Think of this. In a multiplayer environment, the primary use of the DS when you're playing with friends, like the thing that you can't do with anything else, is that you can give one player information and not give it to other players.
Yep.
Players can go in different directions. You can do all sorts of things like that. I would make, what if I were Nintendo?
Board games.
I would make a WarioWare for the DS that was multiplayer and awesome. And
that would be hot.
That would be
a multiplayer WarioWare DS where you could see what's going on up top. You play your games down at the bottom. Yeah, and you got all sorts of WarioWare games involving styluses and microphones and button pushing and who knows what.
Because actually, a lot of the games in the WarioWare for the DS were okay minigames. They're a lot better than the Wii. The problem was, that game didn't have multiplayer.
At all.
Which made it useless. I stopped playing it as soon as I realized there was no multiplayer, and I never picked it up again.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, Nintendo failing in multiplayer on pretty much all fronts.
Also, this friend code business.
It's gotta end.
Why is Nintendo so afraid of pedophiles? All they have done is crippled their wireless to the point that only 11-year-olds use it.
The only Nintendo multiplayer that's worth playing is a bunch of people in the same room with a Wii, or a bunch of people in the same room who all have DSs. Otherwise, multiplayer, pretty useless. The WFC, I got every game that hooks up to it. I got a lot of games that hook up to it. I never really use it, ever. I used it to trade Pokemon more than anything else, and now I don't play Pokemon.
I played Mario Kart on it until I decided I didn't like Mario Kart anymore.
Yeah, the WFC as it stands is completely useless, but if they would make something like Xbox Live, it would be the business. Or something like Steam.
You could even just set it up. Well, I'm not going to get into that, because that's well beyond the scope. That's not if we had a dev kit. That's if we were Nintendo.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of the DS, I'll bridge this. They really need, if it's possible, and it seems like it is, to make games where you use the DS as a controller for the Wii.
Well, I thought we should talk about this last. We should talk about the Wii first.
All right. Well,
we'll do the DS, then the Wii.
We'll end on both. That, because I think that is the place where Nintendo could create transcendent gaming experiences.
They did it with Pokemon, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
All right, so, the Wii. What is the Wii not doing?
All right, first things first. I would go get the license, because I think Vivendi has them, but I can't tell, to all of the Quest for Glory, Police Quest, and Space Quest games. Mm-hmm. And just port them directly to the Wii.
Yeah, the Wii is in this position where you have the first time ever an electronic console of some sort that can display things on a television, but there is a pointing device which does not suck. Right? I mean, you can go and try to buy like some Logitech pointing device or some fancy laser pointer or something. The Wiimote pretty much beats them all in terms of a pointing device to use. It's like the first mouse you can use on a TV screen sitting on your couch, right? And that alone, they should go back, and there are all these mouse-based games from back in the day or presently or even in the future, and just bring them out, because people, PC gaming, as much as people yell about it, largely not where it used to be. But there's a lot of old PC games that almost no one has played. You can come out with some Maniac Mansion for the Wii and start playing it with your Wiimote. Why not?
Make sequels to all those games. Port them, figure out which ones are popular, make sequels, make money.
Yeah, just there's all kinds of games that we can now enjoy in our living room instead of at our computers because we have a pointing device in the living room. And we need that action. We need that action now.
Now, it would depend on licensing, and I guess fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately for them, Microsoft has jumped all on this with German board games.
Yeah.
You know how hard, if I had a dev kit or I had been Nintendo, I would have begged and pushed and bribed to get the license to release every good German board game ever on the Wii with multiplayer.
Well, the 360 already has Settlers and Carcassonne. So, the Wii.
But imagine that with the Wiimote.
Yep.
Snap.
Playing your Carcassonne tile by pointing instead of using your arrows.
Just rotating it in your hand.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Oh, that would be good.
That would be. I thought about that so much.
But no, it's on the 360 where it is, I guess it's better on the 360 because multiplayer is essential there, and that's where the multiplayer works. But using the Wiimote to play it would be ultimate. So I guess, yeah. Oh, well. What else is the Wiimote not doing? Well, the Wii not doing is, they came up with Wii Sports as a game that it showed you, at least the bowling and some of the other ones, kind of okay, showed you that there were games where you could, swing around the Wiimote to really play. But other than that, all the games I'm playing on the Wii are not really standing up. I mean, I played Metroid, and I was using the Wiimote as a pointing device. It was basically like I had a gamepad in my hands, but also a pointing device. And same Trauma Center, same way. Pretty much every game I'm actually playing on the Wii, I guess Guitar Hero, but that's no different than, it's a plastic guitar. The Wiimote only adds to the guitar. Only Wii Sports am I swinging around a whole bunch. There's definitely a lot of potential for more swinging around games, and they're just not making any.
And I was even thinking...
Or they're not good.
I mean, they're...
Like Wii Play was not good.
No, it wasn't.
No.
But no one's made a good sword game yet. I know people say, because the pointing precision is really good with that camera. The accelerometer precision is not absolute, and there'd be a lot of problems with the sword game. There are a lot of ways around that, and no one's done it.
Yeah, because the problem is because people have this unreasonable expectation that somehow, like, the sword on the screen will exactly mimic, the Wiimote in your hand. That's never going to happen.
Well, I thought of a way to get close. But two, instead of you could have it gesture-based, because the accelerometers, while they're not good at telling the Wii where the Wiimote is, they're very good at telling it where it used to be as opposed to where it is right now.
Yeah, they know if they might not know exactly you move the Wiimote left this many millimeters and up this many millimeters and forward this many millimeters, to get an exact measurement and exactly move the sword.
But you could make sword games where you had, 10 possible gestures in the air that did 10 different sword moves that were similar to those gestures, and then you could have some sort of fighting game.
Yep. The problem there is a potential there to make a gesture-based sword fighting game that could be good. The problem is a lot of those gesture-based games, like Madden, the first Madden for the Wii, which I have, is sort of gesture-based, and some of the other games have some gesture action, and some of the gestures are kind of flunky, and they don't do exactly what you want all the time. Or, the boxing is semi-gesture-based, and it's it can be kind of a hurdle for people to learn all those gestures and then actually be able to execute them with, decent enough reliability.
See, I think the sword could be a little bit better just because, especially if you make it all fanciful and what kids would like, the gestures would generally be very sweeping and fast.
Yep, something like that.
Or
it could be done. There's a if you try it, you're gonna fail 9 times out of 10 to make.
Or
it
if
good.
you needed more accuracy in holding a sword up, I guess you could have camera sensors in the hilt pointing out instead of on the tip pointing out, and then you'd be able to use that for better accurate positioning.
See, I'm just thinking about games like snowball fight. Everyone sits around throwing snowballs at each other. Stuff like that where you're actually throwing. Because right now, games like that is sort of like you aim and then you push the B button.
Or just more, I don't know, direct, real games against people. I mean, we play, like the tank game, we burned through the game because we wanted to play the tank game. When I discovered that the tank game was not kill your opponent, but don't die and kill the computers, all the fun disappeared.
Yep. There's definitely not enough multiplayer action. I think it seems like there's some hesitation to do split screen, which was not a hesitation before. But I can see that because with the Wiimote, it might be hard if you're using it as a pointing device, aiming at a quarter of the screen, not so hot. It works in like Excite Truck because you're not aiming, you're not using the pointing device feature of the Wiimote, so you can do a split screen. But in other games, if you're using the pointing device, split screen is not an option. So multiplayer starts hurting. And then because, the Wi-Fi really sucks, multiplayer is hurt even more. And if that was fixed, well, there would be a pretty awesomeness on the Wii.
So, how could we give players their own screens on the Wii and yet not have to take away screen real estate?
Maybe if you use the DS screen?
Maybe.
Yeah. Right now, if you get Pokemon Wii, Battle Revolution, whatever they call it, right? You can have your Pokemon on your DS connect to that, use your Pokemon on your DS to pick your moves, and then the Pokemon on the screen will be on the TV with the Wii fighting it out.
Now, that's cool.
This is an existing technology.
Now, they had Crystal Chronicles. I mean, you remember you could connect the Game Boy Advance to the GameCube, and it was obviously, at best, a tech demo. But at the same time, despite the fact that it was incredibly limited and incredibly high latency and barely worthwhile, Crystal Chronicles and Four Swords were incredibly fun if you played them with three other people.
Four Swords was like if you haven't played Four Swords for the GameCube, get some GBAs. Come on, they're cheap. All right, and freaking hook that shit up right now.
Now,
get 3 friends and go.
You could just release those games on the DS straight up.
Yeah,
because they only need 2 screens.
Yeah, why? It's like there was there was 4 Swords for the GBA and there was 4 Swords for the GameCube. Why don't they release the GameCube 4 Swords for the DS? Why not? I don't understand why not.
But just
port it.
Think of the potential if they actually started making games that did the Crystal Chronicles thing, but with the DS. I mean, it's not just you have 3 screens, but now you've got 4 players with a relatively...
You could have more than... Yeah, but technologically, I don't see why you couldn't have 16 players, but 4 players is enough.
Well, all right, you've got a number of players. Each one has their own input device, their own 2 screens, their own stylus.
Not to mention their input device is a stylus, and they have, a full set of buttons and a microphone.
And there's the TV in the room.
Yep. So it's like the TV has the information that's shared between everybody, publicly known information among all players, and the DS has private information for each player.
And it's not the tiny bandwidth channel that you had with the old system, so you can actually do stuff. The Wii is more powerful. You can have a game like Crystal Chronicles, only you don't need the stupid busket. The busket really existed to keep everyone on the same screen. What if everyone actually had their own screen and the puzzles were like, all right, you 2 go over to the north part and do this thing and I'll go around and hit this switch and then we'll do something cool.
Yeah. Or, what other kind of potential is there? You could have a game, say, I don't want to say Counter-Strike because I don't think an FPS would work, but imagine, some...
Hide and seek!
Yeah, hide and seek, sure.
A third-person hide and seek would, especially to kids who really like games, like, how well would that sell?
I don't know. I'd play it.
I'd play it too, and every grandma would buy it for her grandson.
Yeah, you could even just have a Bomberman like that, where you can see the whole screen up top, but then everyone has their own little screen.
Or you could have games where some people, it's like one guy versus everyone, or someone like some people are trying to get through a maze, but other people are drawing walls in the maze, and they come across. The reason I'm not getting specific here is because I basically have a nerdgasm of ideas every time I consider this idea.
Yeah, and
I
it's
can give you
if they just let, anyone who wanted to make games and sell them, there'd be a bajillion amazing games like this all over the place.
You know what they should do? There's a nice elegant way around the Atari problem.
Yep.
What if they didn't open it up, but they said, hey, all right, everyone, anyone who wants to enter into this contest, will have to sign a thing and pay a fee. And then you're allowed to have a dev kit. And you make a game. And there's like a year. And everyone who signed up makes a game. Nintendo takes them all and does some sort of judging, declares winners, hires those people to make more games, and sells them all.
Yeah, Nintendo just really, because pretty much the way Nintendo is, it's well known that the third parties are not, so pleased. The third parties are doing a lot with Nintendo now because, they sold so many Wiis that they can't afford not to, make some games for that platform. But on the whole, third parties, you go on to Nintendo, right? People only buy so many video games a year. If you have Wii, Nintendo's making, say, 10 games a year. Those are the 10 games they're going to buy because those are going to be the 10 best games, and it's hard for anyone to compete with those games.
Well, I mean, unless you're the kind of person who likes to throw hats at gongs.
I guess. But, so third parties generally stay away, and that's why, you mostly just get Nintendo games and Nintendo games and Nintendo games. But as a result, the Wii and all of other Nintendo's platforms don't get a lot of variety and innovation. That's why things like, Katamari don't come out on the Wii. They come out on, like, the PS2, where there's a billion people making a billion games. So Nintendo really needs to open that shit up, and then you'll start to see stuff, that is like Portal and Katamari are on the other platforms, but on the Wii instead, where the most potential for that kind of thing to happen is. It's like, where's all the potential for something like Portal or Katamari to happen? On the Wii. Where does it happen? The PC and the PS2, because that's what the openness is, even though the potential hasn't changed in years.
I guess the real problem is Nintendo has no reason to do this. They have no reason to even care. They're printing money continuously.
And which is why we'll always be disappointed. That's why Apple, we're always going to be disappointed. It's like the potential of the iPhone could be a life-changing device, a world-changing device. Instead, it's just a semi-changing device. Only because Apple is asses.
Optimus Prime?
And what?
A semi-changing device?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, and only because Apple and wireless providers are all assholes.
Yeah, but I thought, according to the internet, the Google phone was going to come out and save everyone.
They're all assholes too.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someday maybe we'll buy a dev kit if Nintendo would deign to give us one.
Yeah. I mean, think even just the potential for like just board games alone. How many board games, right? Do you have like stuff? Everyone has a hidden thing, like what cards are in your hand. DS is the cards, the board, the table on the TV. Any board game, any card game can be turned into a DS Wii game.
Hell, just make a deal with Yahoo and have Yahoo games on the Wii.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
Yahoo games are just Java. Java runs on anything. Just make a JVM and you're good.
And with the thing, you can you grab the cards, you can play Hearts with people in some sort of ladder or whatever, just like on the internet.
That is one thing Microsoft has always been the master of, and that is the common casual game. That's their department. They got Uno going on now, right? They've had Hearts and Minesweeper and Solitaire going on for how long, right? They are the masters of that. And, for Nintendo, you get some third-party hacks trying to make stuff for the DS or the Wii that do that, but they're not good. If they just made, those games, the way as quality as Microsoft makes them, it would be the best. I mean, Microsoft Hearts is fun and all, but imagine playing, poker, but your hand is on your DS, and, you see the table and all the other people on the TV screen. Oh, man.
Especially if you can play over to internet.
Without stupid friend codes. There's no reason why it can't happen. The technology exists. It's just people not doing it. And
mostly because there's no reason to. If I already have $10 million, I don't need another $10 million.
Well, you do, but are you going to do the thing that might give you $10 million or keep doing the same thing that keeps making you $10 million or more that is going to work? Or the thing that might work that you've never tried before. Especially when, as much as I complain, I'm still buying the Mario Galaxies and all these things that don't live up to the potential because they're still awesome.
It's like there's a line, and they're well above the line. They're great games.
It's like they're doing all these things that are amazing that I want to do, but the potential is just so much higher, so I'll be eternally disappointed, but also eternally sated. It's fucked up.
The sad life of a gamer.
It's like I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, this is a really good cake. But I know in my brain that there are better cakes, or at least there could be better cakes. I know, in fact, a specific recipe for a cake that tastes twice as good.
So you go to the chef and say, "Chef, add this to the cake," and he says, "No, you are stupid."
He's like, you might eat it, but I do not know about these other customers, and I'm not going to survey them. They like my cake as it is, and they sell all my cakes every day.
So I say, fine, I'll make the cake on my own. He says, no, you can't, because I have patented the cake dev kit.
Yes.
There is no cake.
I have all the ovens.
The cake
all
is a
your
lie.
ovens belong to me.
The cake is a lie.
Right.
There's no cake.
Do we have anything else to say?
No.
Didn't we want to keep it short because Libsyn's running out?
Something like that. This will be short week, followed probably next week by long, incredibly long week.
You mean Inside Scott's Pants Week?
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.